RadioInfluence.com, podcasting redefined. This is the Fabulous Sports Babe on Radio Influence.
You know, one of the things that I thought about, and I talked a little bit about it, but I think it was 2 years after you got cancer that I walked around I remember being in my apartment in New York and banging my head against the wall going, am I really going to die? And the person that I had to call was you. Talk to me about when you had, because you had chemo and you had radiation, but you took it on the road in spring.
Oh, sure.
I mean, what did you do there?
Well, let me tell you, because I was one of those good little girls that did everything right. I was the only one that had preventative biopsies with no cancer, because there was cancer in my family, and they also missed it at the hospital. So if they had done their jobs, I would have had a little radiation. No one ever would have known. But by the time they found it, it was stage 2 breast cancer, and I'm not one of those people that goes, why me? I always say, why not me? And that's what I said when the guy told me about it, when the doctor told me about it. And I called 2 people. I called my mother, and I called George. And I told him, and that was going to be my first year doing full-time television, a lot. And I said, I promise you, you're not going to not sign me because I've got cancer. And he didn't know what to do. I mean, he said, no, of course not. I said, well, I won't throw up in the booth and I won't appear bald in the booth. I promise you. And he said, Suzyn, it's going to be fine. My fear, babe, were 2 things. One, you cannot become your cancer. That's what I knew immediately. I was not going to be one of those people who sat in their house and if they were a good little girl could go out to lunch. I fired my first oncologist because he wasn't going to let me go to spring training. And I said, get me somebody else. I'm not looking at your face for 6 months. And so I went to the nurse at the hospital that I finally went to, and she said, well, we do have this one doctor. She's very cutting edge. She's from Boston. She went to Dartmouth Medical School. None of the guys like her because she's real cutting edge and she's kind of bitchy. And I said, that's my girl. Get me her. And we are still friends to this day. And she was unbelievable. And she understood that it was important for me not to become my cancer. And she made me stay home for one chemo treatment, which was in spring training. She wanted to see how fast I recovered. And I said, I can't wait for the blood cells to come up. Give me something to boost it up. So she gave me shots that I gave myself on the road. 1, I did not want to become my cancer, and 2, I was terrified that if I left, which the guys all wanted me to do and come back when I was all better, someone was going to be sitting in my chair. And it was George who made sure there was a refrigerator in my room wherever we were, where I could keep my medicine, where I give myself shots. Gene Monahan, who was the trainer at the time, I had my Neupogen in every clubhouse in this country. I mean, they'd come, it had to be in ice and it had to be kept in a refrigerator. They put soda water and saltines on the airplane in case I get sick. This is all George, and this was all the Yankees. And it was terrific, and they were great. If I got ill, if I was doing an interview and had to sit down, the player would sit down. And it was never talked about, and I had a lot of support there. Darryl Strawberry used to tell me how beautiful I looked. I had a wig on all the time, and I was throwing up. But, they were terrific to me, that group, and I will never forget that. And that was 96, the year the Yankees won that first group of World Series under Joe Torre. And I was standing with George when the final out was made against the Braves. And we not only did the Yankees win, I remember thinking that I did it. I got through this season. My chemo was over. We've all won. It was the most special year I've ever been through. And isn't it funny that it was the year that I had breast cancer?
Follow her on Twitter at RealSportsBabe and subscribe to the show on iTunes. This is the Fabulous Sports Babe on Radio Influence.